Hey everyone, and welcome to this explainer. We are jumping straight into part 10 of a massive 20-part tutorial series called The Guide to Modern Network Routing Protocols. This whole series comes to us from Virtualization Options LLC. They're a technology research, education, and advisory organization out of Colorado. Now, for this specific module, we are doing something a little different. We're totally bypassing the dense command line syntax. Seriously, zero CLI today. Instead, we're focusing purely on the foundational concepts you absolutely need to grasp to make informed network decisions.
Imagine the absolute panic if a core link in your enterprise suddenly goes down. You've got a network administrator scrambling, frantically trying to manually update every single routing table across the entire organization before business operations just completely grind to a halt, right? It's a total nightmare scenario. But that scenario perfectly frames exactly why dynamic routing protocols are an absolute necessity in modern IT. When a packet hits a router, that device has to make a split-second decision about where to forward it. We literally cannot do this manually at scale. We need systems that handle this for us intelligently.
Here's our roadmap for this explainer. We'll start with the core routing dilemma, define some foundational concepts, explore internal protocols, look at BGP for the internet backbone, and finally, discuss choosing the right protocols. Let's dive in.
Section 1. The core routing dilemma.
So there is a stark contrast between static and dynamic routing. Static routes, sure, they're fine if you just have a tiny stub network, a single router with one upstream connection to an ISP. But the moment you start dealing with complex enterprise environments, static routing fails instantly if a link goes down simply because it requires manual human intervention. Dynamic protocols are absolutely essential because they automate the exchange of all that reachability information. They calculate paths automatically, they seamlessly adapt when links fail, and they can scale to thousands of routers without you having to lift a single finger.
Section 2. Foundational routing concepts. Before we throw a bunch of acronyms at you, let's establish a baseline. First up is convergence. Basically, this is the process by which all routers reach a consistent, accurate view of the network topology after a change, like, say, a link failure or a brand new subnet coming online. Convergence is absolutely critical because during this transition time, your traffic might be dropped or misrouted entirely. And the difference in convergence times between protocols is massive. A modern protocol like OSPF can converge in mere seconds, while an older one like RIP, that might leave your business waiting and dropping packets for over 3 minutes.
Next up, we have the metric. Think of a metric as the specific value a protocol uses to rank competing routes to the exact same destination. It's like every protocol thinks a little differently about what makes a path good. RIP simply counts the number of router hops. OSPF calculates a cost based inversely on the bandwidth of the links. Meanwhile, EIGRP uses a really complex composite calculation factoring in both bandwidth and delay. They all want to get from point A to point B, but they use entirely different math to pick the best route.
Okay, our third foundational concept is the autonomous system, or AS. This is basically a collection of IP networks and routers under the control of a single organization, and it presents a common routing policy to the internet. Each AS gets its own unique number. For example, Google's primary network is AS15169. This concept actually dictates our protocol choices. You use interior gateway protocols, or IGPs, inside your own autonomous system, and you use exterior gateway protocols to talk between different autonomous systems.
Now, we really need to highlight the difference in how these internal protocols function under the hood. On one hand, you have distance vector protocols. These are often called routing by rumor. Why? Because in this model, routers only know what their directly connected neighbors tell them. They just know the distance and the direction. That's it. On the other hand, we have link state protocols. These are way more comprehensive. They require every single router in the area to independently build an identical, complete mathematical map of the entire network and then calculate the shortest path themselves.
When routers actively communicate, they are constantly passing data back and forth to form their paths. Now, whether they are simply broadcasting the routing tables to their neighbors every 30 seconds, like RIP does, or efficiently flooding link state advertisements to build a unified map, like OSPF, this constant communication is literally the heartbeat of a dynamically routed network.
Section 3. How internal protocols work.
I want you to burn this number into your memory, 15. That number is the absolute maximum hop count for the RIP protocol. Because RIP measures distance purely by how many routers a packet traverses, it enforces a hard ceiling. Any destination that is 16 hops away, it's considered completely unreachable. That is a severe limitation for growing networks. Plus, RIP has zero awareness of link speed. Think about that. It will happily route your traffic over 3 ancient 56K modem links instead of a direct 10 gigabit fiber link just because it counts as fewer hops. Crazy, right?
Now contrast that with OSPF, which is pretty much the enterprise standard. As a link state protocol, it boasts super fast convergence, typically 1 to 5 seconds. It achieves massive scalability by dividing the network into specific areas, which all connect back to a backbone called Area 0. Because every single router maintains a full link state database, it guarantees loop-free paths. But there is a very real trade-off here. OSPF demands significantly higher CPU and memory power to maintain those complex maps, and it requires careful, sometimes really intricate configuration from your engineering team.
Then we have EIGRP. Originally a proprietary Cisco protocol, it's considered an advanced distance vector protocol. What makes it so special is its highly sophisticated duel algorithm. Duel actually pre-calculates backup paths called feasible successors. If a primary link fails, EIGRP doesn't even have to think. It instantly promotes the backup path, giving you sub-second convergence. It also allows for unequal cost load balancing, which is completely unique. The main downside, well, despite technically being an open standard now, in the real world, it remains heavily restricted to mostly Cisco environments.
Section 4. BGP, the Internet's backbone.
Over 900,000. Just take a second to wrap your head around that scale. BGP currently carries over 900,000 IPv4 prefixes in the global routing table. This is the protocol that makes global IP reachability possible. It routes every packet that crosses organizational boundaries, literally from your browser, street, to a web server halfway across the globe. BGP is a path vector protocol. That means it tracks the exact sequence of autonomous systems a route traverses to ensure massive scale without creating any routing loops.
Unlike internal protocols that are racing to converge in milliseconds, the philosophy behind BGP is completely different. It strictly prioritizes stability over speed. Slow convergence is entirely acceptable here. BGP uses intentional delays, things like route flap damping and minimum advertisement intervals, to prevent a single flapping link in one random company from cascading chaos and recalculations across the entire internet. It's built for heavy, policy-based traffic engineering, not raw reaction time.
Section 5. Choosing the right protocol. Let's put on our network architect's hats for a minute and look at 2 distinct environments. First, imagine a hospital network spanning 5 campuses. They can safely and efficiently rely on a simple internal OSPF setup to route between buildings and then just use a static default route out to their ISP. It's practical and it's highly reliable. Now, flip that to a massive university. They have a completely different reality. They'll still use OSPF internally, but because they have multiple internet service providers for redundancy, they absolutely must run external BGP or eBGP at their edge. That's the only way to intelligently control how traffic enters and exits their own unique autonomous system.
Think of this decision matrix as your ultimate cheat sheet. It summarizes exactly how RIP, OSPF, EIGRP, BGP, and the carrier-grade ISIS stack up against one another. You can immediately see the patterns here. If you need fast convergence in a large, multi-vendor enterprise, OSPF is going to be your go-to. If you're a major telecom carrier, you're very likely leveraging ISIS. And if you are actively talking to the internet at large, you are using BGP, consciously trading speed for internet scale stability.
As we wrap up this explainer, I want to leave you with this final, critical thought to consider for your own infrastructure. If your network went down today, are you confident you chose the protocol that matches your true scale? Are you actually running the right protocol for your operational reality? Or have you outgrown RIP? Do you really need the complexity of BGP? Empower your network by matching the tool to your exact operational needs. Thanks for joining me on this deep dive into foundational routing concepts, and keep on learning.